Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we're going to be reviewing a actual product and not so much a watch today, and it's from the brand Bosphorus Leather. Now a little about them, they're a Turkey-based luxury leather goods company, and basically they, as you can see from their logo, nicely displayed, they're all about things that are high-end and handcrafted, guys. I mean, they make everything from straight up watch suitcases and briefcases to travel rolls, wallets, even men's bags, sneakers, and iPhone cases. So this is what they do. They're all about leather, and this just happens to be one of the products that they construct out of leather. So it's a little bit different from my kind of basic reviews into this segment because those are all typically very much wristwatch focused brands. This brand is a leather brand, through and through, and they happen to actually make some things for watch enthusiasts. So this is actually one of their Galata watch rolls, and it's finished in this crocodile print, kind of patinaed brown leather, and it's really nice. It's might be a little bit expensive for some of you, and some of you might think that it's actually super cheap. And honestly, when you look at the spectrum of how much something like this can cost. There's options of things that are somewhat similar that, yeah, it can be $100, and there's some that can be $1,000 or thousands of dollars. So, when you keep that in mind, I'll say just keep an open mind. I've actually been pretty interested in their design for a while. I think they have this modular cushion setup, which I think is pretty interesting. So with all that said, let's go ahead and take a closer look. All right, guys. So it actually comes obviously inside a box, and then it has this little baggie here that I thought was pretty nice. So I figured I'd share it with you all. But let's go ahead and pull that kind of off to the side now and take a look here. So this is actually made for 3 watches. As you can see, the shape does have a flat bottom, which I think is a huge advantage over your typical watch roll, which is completely circular. And basically, because of the weight, it's going to be more liable to roll. In this case, that's definitely, not going to be the circumstance. Obviously, as we take a look at the stitching here, very finely done, quite uniform, just as you'd expect. And the leather really smells like leather. I mean, this is a serious leather product. So if you are somebody who pays top dollar for a really nice leather wallet or, leather shoes, this is something, or even leather jackets, right? This is something you're going to be very accustomed to, and something that will be, of course, something you look for when you think about the touch, the feel, the scent, of course, of the product. Inside, what makes them a little bit different here is, of course, with the leather theme, this is full suede interior and full suede construction. As you can see, I have kind of some of my, favorites in my collection. These you could maybe even dub these the micro brand Holy Trinity. We have the Manta Ocean King, we have the Formex Essence, and the Brellum Duo Box. As you can see, it's kind of a transitional time right now. It's 11/16, about to be 11/17, and there is a bit of a date change over here on the Brellum, which, as you can see, obviously these keep great time. These, 2 of them are chronometers, and the other one's running within chronometer specs. So they're actually running and set and actually keeping time right now. And they are watches that I keep in general heavy rotation. So if you had a question about the watches, I mean, eventually I'll probably do a dedicated segment kind of talking about the tiers of independent micro brands, as well as kind of the Holy Trinity, and then, of course, different categories through other segments. But I did want to showcase these because you get a nice little gambit of different types of watches, different thickness levels, and you can see that this roll is actually quite accommodating. One of the things that really makes this roll very, very different at the same time is the fact that it uses these snaps here, and it's pretty much modular. So let's say we pop this off here. You can see now that's kind of a standalone. This is kind of a standalone. you can even take this all the way apart. And I think that's something that's really different and actually quite cool and kind of useful, because now you have this structure, and you can kind of use it as a workspace if you need to change out bracelets or anything like that. Of course, you can guys see with the thicker matted suede, you catch a little bit of lint there. But this is fairly new, so there's going to be some lint there. And what I'll do is I'll do a quick kind of brush off and get everything looking good for you, and then we'll jump right back in. All right, so I gave the watches in the case a little quick wipe down and blowout, just so they are going to rent. You guys aren't going to be focused on a bunch of fingerprints or lint on the screen. I want you guys to kind of check out the features. So one of the cool things is, of course, now the center stack actually is suspended above the ground, so you can even like kind of have that on your desk if you'd like to. And it doesn't mean that these are kind of left on their own. What you can do is you can kind of snap them in, actually, and then and the nice thing is the snaps are very easy to actuate, but really there's some resistance to disengage, so they actually stay in there pretty well. So then with this, you can easily still store this if you'd like. Of course, without those center pillars there, you're not going to have the back pressure holding those up, so it's not going to be quite, you know, as easy to snap. You are going to have to push down a little bit more, but if you want to, you can throw that and have this on your nightstand. Let's say you're staying at a hotel or something, and this is the one you're gonna happen to plan to wear the next day, or maybe you're keeping it on your nightstand so you can keep time with it. Who knows? So as you'll see, the snaps actually do line up, as you'll notice, and you can see here it snaps together pretty easily. Not a lot of force. You just have to make sure they're lined up. So here they're not going to be pushing against your watches. The snaps line up to these pillars here, and the nice thing is snaps up really nice. It's not going to go anywhere. You can throw it in your luggage, you can throw it in a drawer, whatever. It's going to be nice and stable. So we have seen these types of designs from other brands, but typically they're also quite expensive and even more expensive. So I think that's a nice feature. One of the things that you will notice though is if you have let's say a smaller wrist, these cushions aren't the type that can compress very small. I mean, they'll compress, you know, but it's not like there's tons of give there. So if you have a super small wrist, you know, or maybe you're packing your wife's watch with you, and it's on bracelet or something like that, this might not be the solution for you. You might want to check out some of the other brands that actually have the compressing cushion that I've reviewed previously on the channel. But I'd say, you know, other than that, I think this is a really cool and different approach to the whole, you know, the solution of watch storage. I mean, as you can see there, now you kind of even have another different type of workstation, and the watches are quite secure, which I think is really good. You know, you are going to get some wear lines, so of course, compared to the pictures you're going to see where everything is super finely brushed and in all the right directions, in actuality, of course, you're going to see there's going to be some wear lines and whatnot. And then, I mean, you can probably even close it like this if you really wanted to. And say, hey, maybe at your end table, you're using that to take a look at your watch, or maybe you're some G-Shock nut and you need to get light, you know, on the dial to charge. But, you know, for me, if you're going to travel something like this, typically it's going to be with more expensive watches. We do have some more expensive watches featured here, of course, all of them being mechanical, and of course, running within chronometer spec. So, you know, I think it's actually really different and cool. Obviously, the stuff is really nice. As far as the construction goes, I mean, you can even take a look at the snaps for the buttons. They're very nice in general. You know, this really was made with that design to really protect your timepieces while traveling. And of course, it's giving you something that's handmade to a very high standard and high quality, just like you'd expect from your actual wristwatches. If you're somebody that's just like, hey man, I just have a couple of Seiko 5s, and some Swatch watches, or even entry level Swatch Group watches, this probably isn't going to be the solution for you to put your Certina Action Diver in, with a Hamilton khaki. Although those watches retail are going to cost a lot more than the 249 direct that this is going to cost. You probably would just rather spend that money towards, let's say, another watch. Now, $249 towards a watch of this caliber isn't really going to buy you another watch. It's not going to get you close to buying another watch. I mean, it's going to probably not even buy you an extra bracelet. These are some of the finer bracelets ever featured on the channel, as you can probably even see just from looking at this. So it's really kind of matching that level of quality. Again, one of the features I do like is that you kind of can make yourself a little workspace, if needed, because these all can pop out. I don't want to probably stand that all the way up, but pop these out. Now you got a little workspace if you do want to work on your watches, switch out a bracelet, something like that. Size of bracelet. Let's say you take this traveling with you, you buy a watch, while you're traveling, you get that nice duty free, and now you actually have a workspace, which I think is actually a really cool idea. And then of course, with the way that these are going to be able to kind of stand on their own, you don't necessarily have to worry about this rolling off on its own. You can separate it again. You can have this, hey, this is in a little workspace, I'm working on it. You can have this one, whatever way that you want. You can kind of position them in different ways. So I think that's actually quite an interesting idea and a different take on, what you can get. As far as the quality goes, guys, I mean, it speaks for itself. Anything that can be measured and a point of quality, when you're looking at this, it's done to a very, very high quality, to a luxury standard, similar to the fit and finish of these watches that are just done to, definitely a luxury standard. Don't want to get the reflection too much, so you guys can enjoy that in the background. So yeah, and for some of you that are still kind of facing that sticker shock, I mean, it's just to put this into context, this same company sells wallets for $250. So, I mean, if that can kind of give you an idea of the value proposition, there's a wallet, you can put a couple cards in, a couple of loose bills, versus this, you can store watches in for the same amount of money, and I'm sure you're getting more material and whatnot. You're getting more diverse material because you're getting suede, and it's also natural suede, so this isn't synthetic, so this is actual suede, so it has that nice fluff to it. It's very soft, and definitely just has more of just that handcrafted premium feel. Yes, you could probably get something that's going to look a little bit more uniform as far as the way it's going to lay out, and the way each fiber is going to be, in the direction that it's in. Yes, you can find that with synthetics, but I think it's definitely a selling point for something, in this price range, that's really nice, like this is. So, I mean, if you really like to travel with more than one watch, this is probably, and I do. I'm one of those people. I will travel and I will bring more than one watch. It can be just for a weekend. I'll want to bring 2 or 3. I kind of have to convince myself to only bring one if I'm going to. And then sometimes I make my wife brings her watch, or or my son is now into collecting watches, and he might want to bring a watch with him. So it's one of those things. It's really nice, and it's a different take on some of the stuff that we've shown on the channel before. I think the design is a little bit different, so there's enough of a differentiation. The price is definitely different. This is going to be a little bit cheaper, with a little bit of a different design, so you can't really be mad at that. And I think when you look at the kind of contemporaries and the different counterparts of people kind of in this space, you can't really get too upset with the pricing. I mean, there's probably leather brands you haven't even heard of. And I've done the research. I mean, that will sell stuff like this for 600 bucks that's not even designed as well as this. There are also other brands in the space that have some really nice designs, but they're still more expensive. So then you kind of have to decide, you know, where your concessions are going to be, whether that's going to be price or design. I think these are actually quite well designed, quite well priced, and quite well executed. So, you know, I was happy to be able to feature them on the channel for you guys. So with all that said, if you liked the video, please do hit like. And if you haven't, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.